It was just one of those shows where like everyone's like, like when like someone from the crowd like grabs a singer and the singer's like, "Ugh," like, and the kid's like, ah, like, and they're, "Whoa."
Tonight, the comeback kid.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. This is an episode I've been looking forward to for the last few weeks. I am very pleased today to be welcomed by Andrew Neufeld of Comeback Frickin' Kid, something that we've been trying to set up for a while. And, with the new album coming out super recently, it's time to do that. So, Andrew, thanks for coming on the show.
Dude, it's a long time coming. Thanks for hounding me and not giving up when I was a little flaky.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the one thing that I've learned with this podcast is that, some people are, I think that there's a lot of guests that are, for me, worth going after and sending DM after DM and trying to be self-aware and knowing when is like too much and being sensitive to some of those things. But no, I feel very fortunate to have you on the show as a fellow Winnipegger myself.
Yes.
And I know that we're going to chat about that. We're going to chat about Comeback Kid. We're going to chat about the new record. But yeah, I got a lot of great stuff here set up. So before we get into any of the music chats, it's tradition on the show to check a bev to kind of kickstart the episode. It's another tradition for the guests to go first. So tell me what you're going to be bringing bevs wise for the show.
Oh, you want both bevs? Because I'm going to have another one after my first one.
We can do a mid.
You want to do mid? You want to do mid?
Yeah, let's do mid. Let's leave some anticipation.
It's very basic shit. It's nothing cool at all. I'm not a crafty guy.
Come on, we got to hype it up a little bit.
Okay. Well, as a person who likes to kind of like check my calories throughout the, I don't really count as much anymore. I kind of just mentally kind of add it up. But I got the low-cal beer, the official, Michelob Ultra, 120 calories. It's an apple, really. So
yeah. An apple a day.
An apple a day.
Ultra a day. Yeah, that's right. So before I show you my bev, I need to, there's the bev check, but this is like a bev fit check in a way, because I was very intentional about like what I wear to certain podcasts if I'm having a band on. So, we have the Comeback Kid Honest Living collab shirt from 2014. I actually wore this same shirt when I was doing Stu's podcast, so I got that.
And I listened to that. I listened to that podcast as well.
Yeah, great shit. I also have a Winnipeg Gold Eyes hat, so gotta have some of that. And I think you'll get a kick out of this. So I'm gonna be checking the Remember When Comeback Kid for Gary Beer.
I need one of those.
So that's you.
Then
that's me.
Oh no way, that's you?
Yeah, that's me.
So good.
Dude, the amount of people that hit up my DMs when this was coming out, like, hey, did you know that you're on a beer? I'm like, yes, unfortunately.
Shout out Joey Senfit for taking that photo and everyone that was involved in that. Like, I need some of that. Like, they never sent me any. So
I will make sure that I get it hooked up for you by the time this podcast.
Dude, that's so funny that's you. I've seen that guy for like, it doesn't look like you to me right now, but
this is just, I think my beard's gotten a little bit bigger since then. But quick little story for you, because, you've played hundreds upon hundreds of different Comeback Kid shows. But that one for me specifically was filming you guys. I think that was the Counterparts, Gideon, and Expire tour that was happening that you guys were playing.
Potentially. Some of the Canadian tours kind of blur together. But
yeah, totally. But yeah, that was filming that show. Wake the Dead kicks in, and like, of course, like halfway through the song, the memory card like fills up, and I'm kind of like standing there. I'm like, oh fuck. And then I was like, well, I captured this really badass set. I might as well just have the last couple minutes of fun. So I put my camera down and just started stage diving. And then I remember this was like right before like the last chorus or whatever, and I had my hands up, and then Joey snapped that killer photo. So yeah, it was very, very intentional for me to save this beer and Bev to be checked with you.
But you had multiple cameras at that, so Wake the Dead was filmed at that show, right? Or was it not? Was that the craziest song of the set not even on there?
It was, I think it was like kind of like halfway through. And this is like, I think this was a little early in my like filming of bands. I wouldn't even call it a career, but my pursuits in that way. So I was like still very novice. I was like, I think like in those days, you know, bringing like maybe 2 memory cards to a show, if that. So I've definitely, like, I'm a firm believer at like, you know, learning through some of the hard lessons, and I've gotten to film you guys like multiple times as well. But yeah, it's very, you know, it could be said that the photo might look a little different if I was filming when this was happening. So again, a lot of funny things.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's right. That's true. I think that might have been the show where my nephews all stage dove, and they were like, it was their first show, and I think they all stage dove at that one. But yeah, that's dope. Every time we play Winnipeg, it's like kind of an event. I feel like it's like a special little party.
I remember I was getting my hair cut by someone, and you know, someone that I think everyone who knows was at certain points in their local scenes. You know, like the height, and then like a band will break up, and there's kind of some, you know, people that don't go to shows anymore. But they were saying like, yeah, when Comeback Kid comes down, it's like almost like a high school reunion of sorts, where like all these people will come out and
out of the woodwork.
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of funny. I've said this before, but like, it kind of feels like anytime we do a Canadian tour, like every day is a local, like it's always a hometown show, because even if it's like, you know, Winnipeg, we're from there. I live in Toronto, so that's a hometown show. Vancouver boys, we play there, that's a hometown show. And then Alberta is also like Stu and Lauren, they're kind of from there. So
right.
It's all, and I have, you know what I mean? So it's like almost every day it's like family and like, you know, something.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting, you know, and I've talked with Stu and Jeremy on their separate podcasts about how I think for me, Comeback Kid was one of the first bands to showcase like how a band can operate in like a long distance aspect and still be able to live in different parts all across Canada, but still be able to come together. And I think, you know, to your point, I think it plays in the fact where you can be like, hey, we just have like kind of like 5 hometown shows or 4 hometown shows now being so spread out versus just one.
Yeah, totally. You got to make those long drives worth the while, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. From Winnipeg to Brandon and then to Regina, you know, there's some feats to be.
The American listeners don't even know. They don't even know.
No. A lot, you know, we have a lot of American listeners, and they are spoiled.
Yeah.
So Andrew, cheers to you, my guy. Really excited to do this podcast.
Nice podcast or nice beer there. That's great.
Yeah, good looking beer and good tasting beer as well. So I'll have to make sure that you get some sent to you, because that's a shame.
I'll make tell that your producer there to make a little clip of that. We can send it to them. And then they'll want to send us a case or something.
It's just like, oh shit. Just like.
And while I'm at it, I'm going to promote my friend's company, Indestructible. This is Indestructible. So thank you for the free shit. You know. Yeah,
we love free shit. It's good shit. Andrew, well, there's a bunch that I want to unpack. You know, Comeback Kid. Very pivotal band for me getting into hardcore, not only just being from Winnipeg, but just being able to, you know, see your guys' growth and being inspired by a lot of the things that you guys have done musically, but also I definitely want to break into some of the things as far as like being a vocalist, and especially when kind of the shift between you know, Wake the Dead and then you kind of grabbing the mic and taking that. And, you know, like we're definitely going to go down that road, but I think one of the main things that I always like to ask a new guest that comes on the show is kind of like their hardcore origin story. And, you know, I know that you've done like plenty of podcasts and kind of do that. So if you had to break that down in like, you know, if you only had 5 minutes to talk about like where you came from when it came to heavy music, where does your mind go?
Yeah, for sure. So pretty much my journey would be, you know, everyone has their journey into hardcore, whether it's through pop punk or metal, or some are lucky enough to hear hardcore first. But So my journey would have been, Green Day. I saw the Dookie video. Wow, that's crazy. And then, MXPX. And then I learn of the other bands on Tooth and Nail that are maybe more of a hardcore leaning. So I'm about 13 at this time, or junior high. So, bands like Focused, Unashamed. At the same time, I think the first CD I ever bought was Propaganda I Spy split from my older brother's friend. So, okay, I'm getting the different spectrums of the, just it's all through older brothers, right? Like this stuff. And then shortly into high school, like immediately into high school or in grade 9 or something, I met my straight edge friends, and then I immediately it's like Earth Crisis, Snapcase, pretty much California Takeover, Earth Crisis, Snapcase, and Integrity. And then from there, Hatebreed, and then I kind of we lived in Winnipeg, so obviously we would have to drive to Minneapolis to go see shows.
Yeah.
And I was
an 8-hour jaunt.
I was allowed to go to shows, I think at 11 or grade 11 or 12 over in the other in America. So the kind of neighboring scene was Minneapolis, so that would be like Harvest and Disembodied. So I like the metalcore stuff, but I always gravitated more to the hard shit, Hatebreed and then Marauder, and I was really into that. Was my brand back then. Blood for Blood, all that. And so pretty much, yeah, that's the kind of the journey. And so I have that kind of that skate punk background, like the Fat Records mid-90s stuff, but I also have the mid-90s metalcore and kind of more harder edged, I guess, New York stuff or whatever.
Yeah. I do think that having a little bit of everything, like you said, though, kind of helps show broaden your palette to the different veins of what heavy music can be and what is. But it is funny that you bring up I think most Canadians, whether you're from Toronto or you're from Vancouver or Winnipeg, there's always the neighboring American scene that you can easily do a day's drive to or drive through the night or to be able to do that. So it's always funny to see at Every Time I Die had To the Season every year, so a lot of Toronto and people from Windsor, Ontario would drive down for that.
Yeah.
Or even going back to the other side of the country, you would have tons of people from Vancouver rolling out for Rainfest. So it's just all these kind of funny things to be able to be able to represent the Canadian scene, in another country.
100%.
Yeah.
And me and Scott, the first vocalist of Comeback Kid, we met at an MXPX show at the Royal Albert. And Reset was also playing. Reset is the Simple Plans, previous band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's how we met. So there's that kind of era as well. But we were deep into listening to hardcore by that time. Scott had moved from Montreal, I think, to Winnipeg. So
yeah. And is he's living over there?
He lives in Toronto.
Now.
Yeah.
Oh, in Toronto. Right. Yeah. So, one of the first points, and I want to keep this very timely to the the new album, is something that I noticed right when things were getting announced, was you guys were recording it at Privateer. And when I was in college, John Paul Peters did a I think it was supposed to be a full semester, but things had to get moved around because of something. So it was a 1-week intensive recording class. And I remember so vividly the first day where he's talking about his, history of recording bands. And he brings up Turnaround is like one of the very first projects that he undertook, and I'm like staring there just like googly eye, just like, tell me more about Comeback Kid and all these different things. And then to see him grow as like an engineer, but then you guys grow as well and kind of come full circle to do this latest studio album. Like, talk to me about that. Like, kind of, did that feel surreal in a way to be able to like have him essentially help debut the band so early on and now help in another crucial chapter for you guys?
Yes and no.
Okay.
We love John Paul and working with him. He's just a guy that I can trust, like I know that he's a musician and he understands timing, and I can trust him to like make sure everything's gonna like stay in tune and whatever. And so we actually did Also Die Knowing, the record a couple of records ago, at Privateer. But
that's right.
We brought in Kyle Black, a producer from LA, to work on it with us.
Okay.
And so we're pretty familiar with working in that studio in general. Like it's happened a couple times. I've been in that room a lot. The fact that we're recording in Winnipeg because Jeremy, our guitar player, has his family there. And during the pandemic, it was just that's where we're doing it. That's the middle ground. That's where we're gonna. So we would go right. We'd send songs to each other, and then we'd write. When we'd actually meet up, it would be in Winnipeg over the pandemic, and we just get an Airbnb and write there. And the situation with the record turned out really like. So with JP, like we knew what we were getting into, and I don't think that there was much shaping of the sound done with JP. We actually realized like 2 to 3 days into recording that there would be no way that we would finish in time, because we had I think we tried to record 18 songs or something, and we had, I don't know, 5 weeks or something. And we were just doing the math. JP was crunching the numbers. There's no way we're going to get this done in time. So then we decided to do all the vocals. I did my vocals with a guy that was renting Studio B there named Derek Benjamin. And so I kind of have the Pro Tools monitor up in my room, and pretty much, it wasn't a full picture thing there, on JP's part, because he didn't even know what was going on in that room.
Right.
So, but at the end, we compiled everything together, got it. And then we sent it off to New York to Will Putney to mix. So it was a very collaborative project. I didn't feel like the weight rested on all of our shoulders. It wasn't one producer vision, I don't think,
Yeah, no. Yeah. And I think it was more about just it had crossed.
But then me being in Studio B, and usually I'm really there, paying it, making sure, knowing that he's there to make sure, and while music's going on, is always was a very I'm confident and very comfortable with that. Jeremy played in a band with him back in the day before Comeback Kid called Officer Down. And so he's familiar, he's awesome, and he's just really fun to work with.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, how Privateer is set up is there is, oh my goodness,
you got this.
Dog's pulling my shit off. There's a main recording live room, and then the control room directly off of it, and then essentially going down the hall, Studio B is essentially right there. That's what you're referring to, right?
Exactly. So it was a very, it was multiple things going on at a time, and a few cooks in the kitchen. So
yeah. But it is cool, because I think just it is always kind of that thing. I remember when Stu was coming on, I was like, can Comeback Kid even be considered a Winnipeg hardcore band, because you guys are so placed out? And it's but there's so many things that always pull you guys to that center, which I think is really, really cool, because I think that every scene needs kind of that quote unquote hometown hero kind of band that's gone out and done different things, and you guys are definitely that.
I really want to. I hope that we can always keep that, and our business is based there. I still have family there. I feel very connected to the city.
Right.
So I think we are a Winnipeg band, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
The Weaker Thans are a Winnipeg band, and some of those guys live elsewhere. So
Yeah, totally. Maybe maybe just like boiling that down a little bit more, like something that I have noticed about you as just an individual, and we'll definitely get to some of the Comeback Kid record stuff, but like you as an individual that I've seen a lot of just like there's a lot of drive for you to go out and support the bands from like the western part of Canada, or even just Canadian bands in general. Like it was very cool for me to see my friends in Stepping Stone be able to go out with you guys and like do some touring and stuff like that, especially at the time where there was like not a lot of Western Canada bands who were like going out and doing that. So to see an opportunity that they were doing, and then like seeing you work with Boundaries and all these other bands. So like for me, being such a, like I've built a lot of the Scope brand based off of like trying to give the spotlight to Western Canada artists, and I'm always the first to try and like be able to sing the praises of those bands. But why is that important to you specifically?
To support Canadian artists or Western Canadian artists specifically?
Well, like Canadian artists, to broaden it, because like I think a lot of people, especially in Canada, they get to a certain level and it's like they actually don't need to do that because like they've done their dues, they kind of done that thing, and that seems to be the attitude that I see from like certain people. But like I see you specifically are like very set on like trying to get involved with these bands, bring these bands out, like produce bands, like all these different things. So I'm just like, what's the seed for you?
I don't think it's like, to be honest, I don't think that it's ever been a conscious thing to support like Canadian bands in general. I just like love young band. Like I like new music, and definitely like down to like work with younger bands that they teach me stuff. Maybe I can do the same. And yeah, like I just like to, somehow it just happens. It's not like really a conscious thing, I'm like, not like I gotta like, but Stepping Stone, we knew, and we wanted to put them out on this tour with us. And I forget how many shows it was, but yeah, it's always sick when there's a Canadian band. Like, dude, if there was like a Winnipeg band that was like blowing me off my feet, I would be like so pumped. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I would be like, I would champion for that till the end of days. And that's maybe any band that I'm like really, really, really excited about. I think there's a lot of great bands from Winnipeg too. Like, so yeah, I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's, like, I think people that maybe it just comes second nature to them, just through maybe, I think when you're from Western Canada and realizing you have to work like 10 times as hard to get like even a tenth of the recognition from the overall like hardcore world. And,
isn't it funny that like I didn't even hear about you guys from like Canada, like your band. I heard about you from Georgia, I think, like the Discovered editor.
Right? Yeah.
So
yeah, it all it took was to go all
it has to
all
go
the way
overseas
to Europe
to come back to me. But
yeah.
But yeah, and that's the thing about being also like where you see this completely, and this is where we were at. And I don't even know if bands can do this now, but when we were starting out, it'd be like, we got to go on tour for like 2 months to make it worth it. Cause it's gonna, the first drive is going to be, 8 to 20 hours or something like that.
Right.
But I mean, now I think it's kind of sketchy booking a tour for that long, because someone's going to get the disease, and then you got to reschedule dates or something. Get these short in and outs maybe, and as much as possible. But then that's like, it's harder to make it kind of like viable financially. So
yeah, I think COVID or not, I think, some bands like just can't like stand to be out for that long. Like I think everyone rushes to that idea of being out for 6 weeks straight with no breaks and no off days, but then it's like, is that actually, are those people actually cut out for it? So I think
I've lost a lot of band members along the way, probably because of that. But at the same time, like I would say, like for younger bands, fuck yeah, like I could do that.
Yeah.
Like I'm 40 now, so maybe I won't want to do it for that long, but I would. Like, I don't know.
I think that there is a level of like, I was younger then, that like, I think as cliche as that sounds, that does play a part. But I do think a lot of people need to maybe practice. Like they don't actually know until they're actually out there of like, oh, I actually like I value this more than actually being out on the road. And some people are like, nope, this is exactly what I wanted, and here I am in the mix of it. So
Totally. Yeah. Again, yeah. There's been a lot of people that have come and gone in with the bands. So
yeah,
and
so
it's not not everyone wants to do this all the time for the rest of their lives. So
right. So let's use that as a little bit of a jumping off point into one of the questions I had, because I think anybody that I talk to about Comeback Kid is kind of like there's people that will always kind of bring up the whole like the Scott Wade era, and then there's like the Andrew era. And for myself, like I think definitely there was I think it would be silly not to identify that there's clearly differences in voices. It's two different people entirely. But what I've really liked is like I've always liked your vocals because it's like apples to oranges. Like I can listen to like Turn Around or Wake the Dead, and I can get that style that Scott did so well. But like I really liked the different, not even different, but just like your direction and how you took things. And I would say like out of a lot of bands that go through like a vocalist change up, like you guys have like really like stood the test of time and not had it like felt like a bump in the road, in my opinion. So like what's interesting is like I was listening back to when you were on the which podcast is that called? I was listening to a podcast where we were talking about like Comeback Kid was like an outlet for you just to play guitar and not do vocals in Figure 4. But then it kind of happened where it's like, oh shit, now I have to do this. So like when you were making that, when that change was happening in the band so long back, was that like, oh, like what was going through your head when all that was going on?
Yeah. So, okay. So this is back in like the days where we would have 2 months on tour. So we were going to Australia, and then we were going to do right from that, we were going to fly back to Seattle and do a whole American tour. And so Scott, on the way to Australia, tells me that he's going to quit. Him and his partner at the time were going to like get an apartment, and like it was just not working out at the time. He just didn't want to tour. So he's like, I'm coming to Australia. Right, well, we're on our way, and then I'll play up to California, and then I'm going to go home. I got to go home. So it was just out of desperation, really. And actually, I convinced him to stay like another week or something. And the fill-in guitar player that we got, he got a ride down to Chicago or wherever, Des Moines or wherever he played, and then the guy who drove the fill-in guitar player drove Scott back up to Minneapolis, and then he got a ride or whatever back to Winnipeg. Yeah. So it was just like I was like, yo, just like stay until we can get the guitar fill in. And we'd actually done it before. Just now that I think about it, there was a tour that we did across Canada. It was like Strung Out and Bane and us. And I remember we really, really wanted to do the tour. And Scott's like, no, I can't do it because I got to like move or something at a certain point. So we're like, whatever. I don't know. At the time, we're like, whatever. We're doing it anyways. I'm just going to sing the second half of it. So then so we had the fill-in guitar player like kind of in the back of our heads already. So it was just kind of out of, okay, we got to test the ground, to test the waters with the fill-in thing, like when he didn't do that one tour that we really wanted to do. And then we put it into real action out of just like, this is what we got to do now. And then like, there wouldn't have been a really, like, we couldn't think of another option singer wise, but I thought about it. It would have been cool, but there was not really that standout person to bring into the dynamic, I guess. Right. And I knew me and Scott would write a lot of lyrics together, and I would like produce his vocals, so when I first started,
you had your foot in the door to a degree.
When I first started like doing stuff, the first song that I recorded when I first started singing was a Sick of It All cover for like a tribute compilation, and I like I tried to sound exactly like him, and it sounds pretty close. So I was all right, and then kind of went from there. And still when I do
Yeah.
like the kind of more like, I guess like cleaner shouts, I guess you call it, like
Yeah.
just a powerful like shout in a that I'm channeling Scott, you know. I'm like, this is my Scott voice, and then if it's a little more distorted or something, it's gonna be, you know, something else. So
Yeah. No, and I think it's cool to see how, you know, on the Die Knowing record to be able to like have him come back to do like a guest spot. So it's like he's still like, even though he's not in the band, he's still a part of the quote unquote lore. And you know, there's
exactly
some things there.
And the 10 It Around tour that we did with him and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
I do remember I went to the 10 Around show in Winnipeg, and that was before I started filming shows, and that is maybe a regret of mine of not filming that show, because I remember watching from the side, and it was like it's like when you see like moshing, but it's all silhouettes, so it just looks so violent. But yeah, that was a wild show.
Yeah.
Do any of those shows from that tour specifically stand out to you?
Yeah, New York City was the one. That was actually the one. That was amazing. It was just, you know, I can't remember it's the specific venue. I don't know if it was the Gramercy Theater or something else. But yeah, no, it was just, that was awesome. You know, that tour in specific, I'm trying to think if there was any others that like I can't even remember that were like crazy, but it was all like really solid, like, you know, so
yeah. And to go back to what I was saying a little bit before, like I think the shift of you taking on the mic in full, like by that time were you like a little bit more open to like doing vocals in a band versus like the initial like I'm starting Comeback Kid to only play guitar and maybe do some vocals here and there?
Yeah, I think with Figure 4, like it kind of hurt me. Like it was kind of hurting to like scream really low.
Sure.
And also like Figure 4 didn't ever get the like love that Comeback Kid did, maybe towards the front of the stage. So it's always like the fuck you horseshoe and fat guys moshing, and I love it. But I just like, we need some people, like at least with Comeback Kid, maybe there's like a few people up closer to the stage, and you feel like there's a little more support from the crowd, vocal wise, because Figure 4, I got to do all the work. So,
right, yeah.
But I think it was just hard to be like, oh, the whole time. So at least Comeback Kid, you can kind of like wing it a little bit, talk, like shout it out, talk it, you know.
Right, yeah. So and I think it's really cool to be able to see, again, like for you guys to do record after record and see the different ways that you would lean into something and then be able to like go and lean into something else. Like Symptoms and Cures is like such a killer record to listen to front to back, and it's like, you know, it's so apparently different to when I listen to like Die Knowing and when I think about some of those songs.
Symptoms and Cures, I lost my voice for that, a lot of that record, so it's really screamy sounding. And I think it's because I wasn't singing properly or something on it. Like I don't love the vocals on it. It just sounds like, I think I just remember having a headache recording that record. Like it was a fun record to record, but just as far as the vocals went, like, I don't know, I was having problems, I think, during that session, and we couldn't like take a break or anything. So I wasn't able to give the full performance, I think, on that record. But I do like that record better than per se, like broadcasting. I don't really like broadcasting too much.
When you like, because you guys have put out 7 records now, like when you put out that much music, especially as a hardcore band, like I think what goes into like being able to be like, hey, it's okay to not like these certain songs, and we wrote this song because we were like crunched for time, or like there were certain things in the mix that we were just outside of our control. And how do you just like look back at some of that and just be like still like stoked on what you guys did, but not being so punishing on yourself off of like maybe things that were maybe 80% versus maybe other songs that were 100%?
I don't know. I think at the time we thought broadcasting was the shit. But looking back on it, but it's always like that with music. I've been listening to our new record now, like it just came out, but I've had it for like done for like half a year. And at first I'm like, all right, like I wonder if people are gonna like this, like listening to it. And then I've listened back recently, like, but I definitely think it's like this record, Outsider, Die Knowing, and then Turn It Around and Wake the Dead are definitely the top ones. The only thing about Symptoms is just, I remember I remember the vocals just being really, really hard to do on that record. I don't know what it was. So
Yeah.
Like with broadcasting, I remember just us feeling like it was going to be great. And I think the record, I don't know, it's a weird one because now people ask about it a lot, but we don't really play those songs live. It's like it's always like, as a hardcore vocalist, you're so obsessed with like the crowd reaction on a song. So like if the song doesn't get the love right away, I'm like let's do another, like let's just do the hits. Like get what will get the most out of this 35-40 minutes that we're on stage,
Yeah. So let's use that as a transition, because I remember when Jeremy and Stu came on, like something that I learned is like, because you guys have so much music to choose from, there's the obvious bangers that are definitely going to be on. I think there's certain songs that you guys have written that I think are fair to say that will always be within a Comeback Kid set list of songs.
100%.
But something that I've heard is like there's some voting that happens of like, oh, let's bring out this deep cut, or let's give this a try. What's like the one song that you personally have been really gunning for, but the rest of the team is like not letting you have it?
Oh shit, I don't know if that exists. I don't know if it exists right now, because I'm only gonna gun for the what's good for the team,
right?
What's the undeniables. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I'm sure maybe what I'm gunning for right now, and we haven't done it, I've only kind of like shot the shit about it, is I want to start doing like some like hardcore medleys in between songs. Just do like 30 seconds of something, and they're like, wait, let's do something a little heavier. Like, let's do something. Just bring it all together. I like having fun on stage. Maybe it's just an idea for festivals, but I'd also love to do a cover set or a cover tour, really. Just because I think that'd be really fun, and I like playing covers. So I think, that's kind of one thing that I'm gunning for now. I don't know how much how well that'll fly, but
right. Yeah, I think when Stu was on, I was like, because I think Manifest is a song that like you guys have played a little bit in the live iteration, but it's not something that's super apparent. But like every time I listen to that, just the riffs on that just seem so crushing. So I'm like, why is this not played live enough?
Stu definitely likes talking about bringing deep cuts back, but I think for a guitar player, it's different, right? All you have to do is like play guitar, like it's fun to play. But as a vocalist, you really you're relying on the crowd, and especially in this genre of music, So that's kind of my vibe.
Yeah, that's fair. So I will transition this as one of the final kind of specifically Comeback Kid song questions that I can ask you. And I asked this to Stu and Jeremy. So, this isn't like I'm trying to signal you out. Everyone's gone through the gauntlet of this. What is the most underrated Comeback Kid song in your opinion? And what is the most overrated Comeback Kid song?
Oh shit, underrated. What do I think deserves like the glory? Fuck, I gotta look at our catalog right now. Here, hold on. You can press pause on the. Okay, I'm gonna look at our catalog.
I might keep this in. I don't know. I'm not gonna hold you to like knowing every single song that you've ever written.
Let's get the Spotify up.
Yeah, I would say like anything off of Heavy Steps is excluded for obvious reasons.
100%, of course.
Yeah.
All right, what we got here?
Do you already know you're overrated?
No, none of them are overrated.
There's got to be one that you're like, all right, well, let's get through this.
Oh no, yeah, there's a discography here. Here we go. All right. Well, okay. I mean, fuck. There's there's a song that's on the split that we did with the Beds Are Burning cover called Little Soldier.
Okay.
And we've never played it live, but if you put it next to a song called Blackout by Turnstile, it sounds eerily familiar. It's like the same key. It's like literally the same riff.
Oh.
And ours came out like, I don't know, a little bit before that. So I'm feeling like I would lean toward, just from seeing that, that's the only one that I would say under. We've never tried it live, but that will be my choice. That will be my choice.
Okay.
And just listen to the two. Let me know what you think.
Yep. You're not trying to call anything out here. You're just making
this
an
is not the
observation.
clip that you're putting on YouTube or socials either. Please.
Yeah. No, that's a promise.
Awesome. Okay. Hold on. I'm okay. No, I love this song. Underrated. Consume the Vision. And we had Chris Cresswell from Flatliners and Hot Water Music on that song. That is on Outsider. Again, we never tried playing them live, so maybe it's okay. Overrated.
Yeah, you don't have to look too deep for that.
No, I'm coming. I'm what? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Die Tonight. I don't know. People seem to like that song, and it's like, okay.
I remember when, and I think this goes back to what you're playing as far as like, it's entirely different for if you're the guitar player or if you're the singer or the drummer of a certain band. Like certain songs are more in lane for some of those roles. Because when I asked Stu, he was like, playing Partners in Crime is like a little boring at times as a guitar player. But as a vocalist, that is like a great song where everyone's piling up and getting crazy. So.
It's great for that. I do like it because it's a little bit of a break for me. Like it's like sure. I don't have to like it's not so many words,
right?
And the crowd's there with it. Mostly the crowd likes it in America, in the States. Canada and Europe, we'd probably gravitate to playing something on the more recent records instead of that. It's weird. The States wants to hear Wake the Dead songs, like for sure. We'll have like 5 Wake the Dead songs in the set list in the States.
That's interesting that Canada is more welcoming to some of the newer comeback head material than the States. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, we were very, very conscious of that in America, but Canada's just kind of in between, and Europe's like really current with like, and a lot of pretty much anywhere else in the world other than the States is pretty current on the new stuff, and even. But to like, give props to the last tour we just did, like playing the new song before the record's out, and it seems to be going well. I just got to prep the crowd a little for it,
Yeah. There needs to be like, it's not just playing the guitar riff that everyone's like, oh, I know. You have to have other ways to help tee up the song to have it be a home run.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Good way to say that.
I try with the analogies over here. You were mentioning all these different parts of the world, and Comeback Kid is definitely a band that like travels a lot. And I think sometimes when I see announcements for festivals and different shows that you guys are doing, it reminds me of like kind of like how Parkway Drive would do it. Is they would just go to all these like really crazy parts of the world versus like the only going to Australia and Europe and some of those places. So. Because of the pandemic and not being able to travel as much as Comeback Kid no doubt would be right now, what is like a country or a place in the world that you want the band to play that you haven't yet?
That we haven't? Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. So I would like to hit up Central America more than we have. We've done a bunch of South America. We've never gone to like Nicaragua, El Salvador, stuff like that. I'm just trying to think. There's a lot on the checklist. I mean, I would also like love to somehow go to the Middle East and play Dubai somehow. That would be crazy or something. But I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, actually, the main one we had a sold out show there, and then the pandemic hit and we couldn't play there. But the Philippines, we were supposed to play the Philippines.
Oh,
we had a
right.
whole like Southeast Asia tour in like March of 2020, and there was going to be like a festival with Slipknot in Indonesia, and then like this Philippines show, and like Thailand and all this shit. Cambodia, we've never played. I would love to do that. We've been able to do a lot of South America, and that's kind of like where I really like. I love it there. So
yeah, that's a great answer. And yeah, it is like really cool to see when hardcore bands go to some of those outskirt places, because like it is so like they are like they're over the moon appreciative of like, you know, not only a band coming to play, but like a band of your size coming to play. And you know, like what's maybe one of like the wildest things that you've seen playing in some of those places where, you know, there's language barriers, there's, you know, people that maybe haven't seen you guys, it's their first time seeing you and they've been a fan of the band since Turn It Around, and now they're 7 albums deep. Like what's been one of the things that's really stuck with you in one of those moments?
Yeah, definitely. I would say Indonesia has some of the wildest crowd, Southeast Asia in general, but Indonesia, I remember we played this like army military base, and we had to give our passport, like before we went in there, we had to give our passports to them. And they're like, yeah, we're keeping these. You have to go to play the show, and then we'll give it back to you on the way out. So we're like, holy fuck. And it was just this like huge like airplane hangar, and we just played the show. And I think it had a catwalk, a small catwalk. And it was just one of those shows where like everyone's like, you know, like when like someone from the crowd like grabs a singer and the singer's like, "Ugh," like, and the kid's like, ah, like, and they're, "Whoa," you know, like, so it was one of those, like, those shows are always like, I love when I don't like getting attacked, but it is like funny, and like I can roll with it, you know.
But, I like getting attacked, but in this context, it's okay.
The punching of the chest and stuff, like, don't punch me in the chest, please. But yeah, so there's that. That was sick.
Before you go to the next, why did they take your passport? That's leaving
I guess
me
just to play I don't know, man. It's weird. I don't know. It was sketchy.
As someone who's lost his passport, like before, like a week before he's flying to the States to go to a hardcore festival, like that gives me an immense amount of anxiety.
You have no idea how many passport issues we've had over the years. It's crazy, dude. I actually I had a passport beside my bed, and my like glass of water like just like kind of leaked a little bit, and so I show up to the airport. We're on our way to start tour with Sick of It All. This is our last European tour, Sick of It All, Cancer Bats. The first show was in, I'll try to like make this short, but the first show was in Hamburg, and so I show up at the airport, and the Air Canada girl's like, yo, you can't get one because like your picture's a bit faded because it got wet overnight.
No.
So the band's already on their way there. Like I was the last, and so somehow I got a passport. Like I called my mom to get my Manitoba birth certificate, and then I like went the next morning. I told them the situation. I lined up at like 7 and 8 in the morning at the embassy, told them the situation. They got me the passport that day. This is the following day after I got denied. So they got me a passport in 4 or 5 hours. I don't know what happened. And then because I had a passport, I had my birth certificate. Luckily, keep this in mind, Manitoba keeps their birth certificates in the like at the office or whatever. So it's a good thing to know. And then got a passport. I couldn't get a flight to Hamburg, so I got a flight to Frankfurt, and then took a train to Hamburg, and I like showed up like right at doors with like all my bags and shit like that.
Holy shit!
I was like, and so my band always kind of makes fun of me. They're always like, "Fucking Goose!" Like he's like, things are always going kind of awry sometimes, and sometimes I have like these like we call them sagas. I always have a saga going on, but I always make the show. I always make it.
Yeah.
So they know about me. So somehow I got to keep that record
is
up.
Wild.
Like that would be the worst. Like it would be just my luck to like miss a show. Like, oh, I'd be so embarrassed. So
off of just a little water that just
a bit of water. Yeah.
I've told this story on the podcast before. And Jordan, our podcast producer, was like firsthand for this. A week before we were going down to film our first ever American festival for the channel, I realized
what was that festival?
It's called Snow and Flurry Festival.
Nice.
In Minneapolis. So first ever, like, big opportunity, super stoked about it. I realized maybe 4 days prior that me and my wife had moved recently, and I just couldn't find my passport. I tore my house apart, and just was like panicking. So I had to like figure out the route of like going to get a new one. And I didn't know that you had to have your original birth certificate, because I just asked my mom to get me a fax of it. And then I show up and they're like, no, you need your real one. And she's all the way in Toronto, so she has to overnight ship it. And then like I show up and I'm like, hey, I'm leaving in 2 days. I need this thing. And they were like, and I was willing to pay like the same day or the next day fee or whatever.
Like anything.
And he's like, oh, like, when's your flight? I'm like, oh, it's at noon on 2 days from now. It's like, oh, you could just pick it up the morning of. I'm like, no, I want to pay so I can pick it up tomorrow and have some peace of mind. And he's like, no, you're just going to do the 2 day. And I'm like, okay. And then there was like a whole series of other things that just made the travel to getting there like an absolute nightmare. And our bags were getting lost and delays and not being able to make, dude, it was a nightmare. Any avid podcast listener has heard the story before. Maybe if we're ever in person, I can give you all the nitty gritty details. But when you guys are, I think the point is like, it's really cool to go out and play all these cool shows across the world. But like when you're not in a van that's driving and you are in control that way, you're kind of at the mercy of a lot of things that could go wrong for sure.
100%. I before the cell phone days tour, which just makes me sound really old. I lost my passport at an internet cafe in Japan. It was our first time in Japan, like 06 or 05, probably maybe 05. And because you just go to internet cafes and you have to give your passport sometimes at those places. And I must have left it at one.
All these places just being like, we're taking your passport for the show. We're at the internet cafe.
And then also one time when we were also already in Southeast Asia, we were in Hong Kong, and I realized I didn't have enough like pages for my passport to get the visa in Indonesia. So I in Hong Kong, we had a couple of days off, and I was going to the embassy there. I had to get a new one there. And then it turned out like one of our guys, like, I don't know, it was another issue, like a page or just a weird thing that you wouldn't think about. And we actually got like bribed into Indonesia. Like the promoter like somehow knew like the border guards, and like they just like waved us through. It was really weird.
They're like,
it was cool,
keep your heads down, go through. That's so funny.
It's actually documented in our DVD that we put out like in 08 called Through the Noise, and we talk about that whole situation on there.
Interesting.
I don't recommend it as a watch. It's a funny watch, but
when I'm thinking of bands that get to the level that you guys are at, I remember when I had Brian of Knock Loose on, and it's like it always felt like a band like his was always like, you guys are just like hitting all these ridiculous new feats. Like, what is like a current, like what's like the next like milestone that you want to hit? So when you think about come back in and being able to start playing shows and doing different tours again, like what is like the next milestone that you want to hit as a band, or even just as a musician yourself?
Milestone, I'm not sure. We're not like, we want to like do as well as we can, but we're not really like looking to like reach like a certain like level or something that we haven't really established before. I think we just want to be able to travel and make it make sense, and just kind of keep on doing like really cool shows. Like, I mean, the tour that I'm supposed to be in Europe right now, but that got canceled. We just had a really, really good 5 months right before this between the States, and I think we played it right by doing a lot of American shows and the UK and a couple Canadian ones in like Montreal or in Quebec where it was allowed. But it's kind of getting there. I was like at that point where I was like, dude, okay, this momentum's great. Like, we just toured with No Warning, and like my favorite band got to take out like awesome new bands, Zulu and Scowl, and
Yeah.
I would just feel like all the shows were doing really fucking well, selling out and stuff. And then this kind of like, we got COVID at the end of it and was like stuck in the States for over the holidays. And we're just kind of like, wah, wah, wah. And then this tour is canceled. So I just kind of felt like we were there. And then like, just even today, I'm like talking with our booking agent, just going through the year. I'm like, wow, it is going to be absolutely fucking sick. Like, as long as we can do it, I keep on checking off the that we've toured with that I'm a fan of, and then there's just more to check off coming up, just like cool shows to play, and old and new bands that and so it's just I'm such a fan, so like I'm gonna be just as excited just to play a cool festival where I can see some bands or just be on a cool package.
Yeah, and I think that's key to kind of keep the spirit of a lot of things going, is like to genuinely be stoked. Because if you're just in a band that plays every once in a while just because you gotta make the funds or any of that, it kind of becomes a little bit hollow. Maybe a part two to that would be like maybe there's not specifically a milestone that you guys are hit, but what do you think is the biggest challenge for Comeback Kid as a band at this state in the game?
What is the biggest challenge? Just to keep the fucking car going like this. And it feels like that's where it's going, Again, like there's no delusions of grandeur. It's not like, sustainability really for us, and just trying. I work so hard on this band. So, and just the planning, and, I just think right now it's so, all we can do is like pivot and be flexible. We have a show right now. Who knows when would this be aired?
Oh, whenever. It could come out next week or 2 weeks or a month.
So like, probably by the time it's out, we'll kind of be knowing what's up. But we have shows in March around Toronto here in Ontario. And the conversation is, okay, Toronto says we're opening up March 10th or March, whatever. And our show's on like the 18th or something like that. Like, it's super close. Are we moving it to May? So right now, we're not even like, I don't think I'm even focusing on like the goals, it's just more like, let's make sure that we can keep this schedule smooth and we don't have to change too many other things. Like, it's just a lot of that. So the goal is just to get back out on tour really, and just play this record. It's all I really want to do. But, and, and just like having some older people in the band and, just the schedule, the big goal also is just to kind of keep the schedule, like not like have it some there's a balance with life, like coming home and going on tour. And we're really, really happy when we like, there's this festival and we can like fly out for like a couple shows then come home. Those kind of things are like really turn our crank as opposed, where we're, and I think that's like a crazy thing, just being in Canada and being a band that's like from so many different cities. Like, sometimes to do a tour, we need an anchor like of a festival just to kind of like make it make sense, or else lose a bunch of money or something like that. So you always kind of need these days, just because it's, again, we're not doing these, 2-month-long tours. So it's just really sustainability right now, man.
Right.
But it feels good that this record's like, I feel like it's like I've never, every time we do a record, it's a different era, like digitally. So I've never seen a record kind of be online as much as this one is. And it seems like I can only kind of just like speculate now, but it all seems like it's working. So
off of that point about talking about festivals and like, if the festival's like, oh yeah, we can fly you out, is that confusing to them at some degree when it's like, you're not just buying, like, it's not like the same flight price from Toronto. It might be more expensive if there's like a couple of Vancouver flights. Like I don't like, that's a very, very niche kind of a question, but I'm curious myself about how that works.
It's a good question. Well, I love when promoters pay for flights, but it usually, like, I would say 95% of the time ends up, we'll just be like, here's the fee, and it'll be like, and like look up flights right now and you'll see they all have to fly from it. So just, that's kind of, and that's kind of the way that it seems like the industry works. Like the festivals, it's like a different kind of structure, I guess. There.
Yeah. So Andrew, I have a couple other questions as we start to kind of like make sure that we're sensitive of your time here.
All good, man.
You know, so Comeback Kid, the name of the band was named after a newspaper that came out in the Winnipeg Free Press talking about Mary Lemieux. And obviously there has been a lot of like, you know, Winnipeg Jets, you know, rip tees and all that kind of stuff. And that seems to be the staple thing of like any person that I see who's like, I still have a Comeback Kid shirt, and it's that one specifically.
Yeah.
Has there been any recognition from the team or the league based off of that?
No, there never has been. Luckily, knock on wood. But I know Misery Signals. They did Edmonton Oilers one. I guess I heard they got a cease and desist for that.
Really?
I feel like they made him again though after that. So I don't know. You know, but it helps that
it's prominent enough that it's not like, oh, we're not getting that kind of attention, but it's just known enough.
Well, sometimes I get a little scared. Like I remember when the Jets came back to Winnipeg, which was awesome. But like it would be like the front of like the newspaper of Winnipeg, and it's like a guy like this, but it's actually a Comeback Kid shirt. It's like, no, like I hope like the wrong person doesn't see like, that, you know?
They're like, that's not how you spell Winnipeg Jets. What's this Comeback Kid brand? And you're like,
yeah. But it definitely gives the illusion that like we're all really into hockey. I mean, some guys are, but not really.
I feel like if you guys were a band now and came up with that shirt, it's almost like you're expected to be a hockey band versus just at the time, like every hardcore band was doing some kind of rip of a sports related team.
Oh yeah, maybe we should do a Gold Eyes rip. Is that still a team?
Oh, yes, yeah. I would, you know, it's a shame because I can't do Winnipeg rips in my Calgary-based band because there's a big disconnect there. But yeah.
Yeah. So like, why did you move to Calgary?
So, Georgia said that you were going to do this. Georgia said that you were going to flip the script and interview me. And I was like, I'm not going to allow him to do that. I moved to Cal. So when me and my wife got married, the same year, my folks moved to Mississauga, so just outside of Toronto, and we were kind of just in between families, and it was just more apparent and a better call for us to move out west. And at the time, we were looking at Edmonton or Calgary, and hardcore was, in my opinion, better here. You know, we had a regional fest that happened and more bands and local shows. So I pushed for that. And
Rose City, whatever.
Wild Rose,
yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The name has changed many. No. I've filmed it multiple times, but I filmed it enough times that the name has changed three times or so.
Love to see it though. Hey, I'm gonna get that other drink. Do you mind?
Okay, yeah. You gonna take us on a journey?
Can you actually give me 2 minutes?
Yeah, we can do that. What's your second drink? You gotta go off mute.
I'm back.
You are back.
So, the second drink is Toronto staple, Ace Hill. Just, you know, this is, again, calorie-wise, but it's like 90 calories, vodka soda. Just keeping it skinny, you know? Yeah.
I don't think I've ever, there's been a couple.
I think it's the best one.
It's the best one?
Go ahead. I think it's the best vodka soda. Like, I've had a lot of seltzers from a lot of different places, but I think this is like, it's not too sweet. It's just like a vodka soda, you know?
That sounds good. I haven't had many local stuff within Calgary. I think like some of it, but like that my dad would have when I would, you know, I was there for Christmas and he'd be like, oh, check these things out. But like, I think our tastes are like totally different. This is like, I don't know why this came to me. Do you know Mikey Hood?
Yes.
So when I was down for Northern Lions Fest, which is a festival that happens in Sacramento, Hoods was playing, and you know Mikey.
How long ago was this?
Time. This was this past summer.
Hell yeah, dude! Yeah, I met Mike Hood way back in the day.
Yeah. So
he's wearing a Comeback Kid shirt in one of the records.
Oh,
The
really?
victory, because apparently they were on victory for a bit, right? They
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
And I just remember he was wearing a comeback shirt. I'm like, wow, he likes comeback. Oh, sick.
Yeah.
But we played West Coast
He's
Worldwide many times.
Oh, dude, he is such a wild individual, and like how it made me think of it is because he's sober now, but he was just drinking bubblies like all weekend long. So he had like
Yeah.
like the family size cooler that he would just like hand out like. And granted, like I'm a bev fanatic, so like there's all these these bubbly flavors that we just don't have here in Canada. So I'm like, what is this like about? So it was just like so funny to see him being like, yo, take a bubbly, take. I'm like, what is this, dude?
That's awesome. I don't know. I love the story. I don't know if it's true or not about like him like taking a gun and putting it down on Tony Victory's desk at one point when they were like having beef over the label or something like that.
Right.
It's hard.
Yeah, he definitely, quote unquote, dedicated some songs to him during the Hood set.
Oh, perfect.
In a very begrudging way. Yeah.
I really hope that one day there's a movie made about that Tony Brummel and that whole thing, because he was like that. He was that character, that kind of like label owner boss,
Yeah. It would be very much of like the Straight Outta Compton like NWA's like manager, but a whole like movie that's only about the Victory Records and like all the hardcore kids and bands that were screwed over.
It's hilarious. Definitely like Trump like energy, not necessarily the same type dude, but like that kind of energy.
Right. So I'm not sure at what point I'll cut back in here, but maybe just at Trump energy. I think that's really funny. So Andrew, I have a couple more questions. And these are, at the back half of the episode, but arguably the most important questions to be asked. What is the famous?
What is the famous? The famous is, it's broccoli. Well, it's essentially broccoli and eggs. So
okay,
because I'm so yeah.
Well,
but
tell me
now
the origin of the famous and in the the roots and all that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the famous would have started. It started a while back, but it's really, really come into action over the last year. Like I lost a bunch of weight this year. And I did it before because it was just like kind of just easy. It's just like you chop, like you can even like just take a broccoli thing and just like do it with your hands and just like throw it on the fryer and then just dump eggs on there. And it's just, that's it. But now the famous has turned into egg whites because there's less calories.
Okay.
So I'm on that whole tip that like over the last like year or something. And but now I'll kind of put like I'm getting better at the famous. So you can tell I'm not a great cook. So now I do the onions and the mushrooms first, and then the broccoli after, like after you get the onion smell, and then the egg whites over top of it. And that's the famous. And then maybe you can turn around. It's almost like a frittata, or it's an omelet. It is an omelet. That's the short answer. That's the long answer.
So you're like, did you see someone else make it or this is your own original idea?
I don't know. I guess I didn't think it was that weird, but my friends make fun of me for it. Can you make me the famous? But like it could be anything, and just veggies and then eggs over top, and then you just fry. I don't know. But I know a lot of other health people that were like chiming in on the conversation when Chase from the band was making fun of me for it. And other health guys were like, no, that's a good thing. Like, yeah, like it's normal. So like
they're like, I don't call it the famous, like but what's that?
Do you think that's normal? That's normal.
I think that is a normal thing because being a vegetarian, I've had a plethora of like different, veggie omelets. So onions and broccoli and eggs together, that sounds
it's just
bang on.
Yeah, it's just broccoli. It's just the easiest like fried breakfast you can make. Broccoli, put the eggs on top. Boom, 5 minutes, done.
So why are you getting so much grief from your band about the famous?
I don't know. They like to bust my balls. Everyone likes to bust my balls about this, that, the other. I'm pretty easy to like drag, but it's all in good fun. I like it.
Yeah. Is there okay? So you said Chase bust your balls with that? Something like what's his?
No, he'll just
like,
be like,
go-to
because
thing?
he has a food like chat group on his, like, he has a chat group,
He has a
and
food
so
chat
he,
group.
yeah, with like him and like Stu's wife and like Nat and like some other people in Vancouver, and then
Oh,
they
I
just
thought
like
this was like a
they always take
hardcore like group chat,
no, they'll take
but
they,
just about
they
food.
just take photos of their food, but I think he takes a photo of my food, but I think he's kind of like making fun of me, like they're all like, ha 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 ha, look at that
Oh,
shitty, I can't believe he's making it like that kind of
the
thing.
famous
Yeah, it's
dude.
the famous.
That's so funny. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think it's sick, and I think that if we're linking up at some point, I hope that you can make that for me so I can have a proper.
Well, I'm gonna,
I don't
but I
want
need to know. I need to know how to. So how do I make the vegan famous though? I don't
Oh,
know.
it could just be vegetarian.
You're not vegan.
Yeah, vegetarian, not vegan. Eat
Oh,
as much vegan as
perfect.
I can, but yeah. The
Easy
the
peasy.
famous look sounds right up my alley. So
But the famous is kind of better, just made like one at a time, because then you can get the whole thing, and it's kind of when I get, because I've
okay.
gotten better at it, so it's like pretty round, and then you can, it's like a pancake, turn it over, it's beautiful.
Yeah, your process sounds very defined for sure.
But also it's the kind of thing where I can like kind of do it, and like I can like run to another room and like to do something else while it's getting there. I don't have to really
Got
pay
you.
attention to it too much. It's just easy.
Got you. Okay, so I feel like we've hit on the famous talk.
Enough.
Enough of that. What's your obsession with bags?
I also get made fun of for that, I guess. Yeah,
These are my Nardwar like deep cut jokes.
Yeah,
that I
no.
pulled through your friend group.
Yeah, no. So I guess I get like, people notice about me, my friends that travel with me, that I have a lot of bags, I guess, because I have like, I don't know, I just have all my stuff, like I got my like, and cords, like apparently I'm because I'm sometimes the cords get wrapped up, I'm just a little loose, and so I'll start a tour and I'll be all packed up, everything's consolidated into like 2 bags, but then somehow throughout the tour things happen, and there's just sometimes I take bags out of the bags, and then there's just so many bags, and there's the dirty laundry, and then there's the cord bag, and then there's the weed, and then there's the clothes and the electronics. That's a lot.
So is that just out of experience of like losing things, and you're like, I need to have like
Oh,
a mega bag system?
I think because of the mega
bag
bag system, I lose more shit because of the mega bag system. I
Oh,
should
really?
figure it out. Yeah.
So you're like, I created a monster, and I actually need to like refine a couple things for the
Like-
next comeback kid tour.
Yeah, like some other guys in the band will have, like they're like really nice, like little like a Herschel bag for their toiletries. Like I'm like a lot of like plastic bags and shit. Like I'm a Safeway bag. Yeah. So it'll be like 3 main bags and like 3 like garbage bags. Yeah.
That's so funny. And,
Yeah.
and you're like, I'm aware that it's not a perfect system, but it's the one that I choose.
I guess so. I'm gonna be more aware of it now going into touring in 2022.
Right. You're like, I said it here on the podcast, and I'm having some realizations that maybe I have to change some things up. But to your credit, as someone that like, I am someone that like hates checking bags when I travel. So I'll literally have my gear backpack, and then I'll have my like personal backpack as like a front thing. And I've done this trip where I'm walking through and I have 2 backpacks on the back and the front of me, and holding a duffel bag or a suitcase at the same time.
No, that's the way to do it. And actually, that's what I've been doing a lot lately, because I haven't been wanting to check anything lately too. So I'll have my mini suitcase. Shout out Herschel, they've been hooking us up, and then I put this bag over top of like the
He's got a
airplane
bag. Right there.
No, it's a comeback kid bag. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He has
Okay.
a bag right there.
Like if I
carry this
turn
bag
the
around-
camera,
I
it's
carry
just
this
a
bag
mountain.
everywhere. So I put this on top, so it kind of looks like one rolly bag, and then I have my backpack.
Okay.
My friend Nate from Zabalba taught me that. Like I was just hanging out with him a few months ago, and he works for like big DJs and stuff like that. So he's just like, yeah, I never want to check shit. So I always have the bag, like the tube bag on top of the bag. And I've only been turned away once, but all my stuff is always packed to like the T, but still carry on.
Right. So you're trying to like get past the gate without them being like, hey, is that 2 versus just 1? And to be able to do that. I've never thought about it that way.
The security will never say anything, like the TSA or whatever. The only people that might say something is the person before you get to the TSA, like that checks your stuff going into like the thing, or it's going to be a lot of times the hostess or the host or the hostess at the front of the wherever the whenever you're entering the plane. But actually on this last trip, there was a situation where I had the 3 bags. And then going on the plane, she's like, there's not going to be enough room on this flight. So you're going to have to leave one of those bags there. And then it's not a gate check, though. It would come back and I would get it like on the carousel. But when she wasn't looking, I just kind of walked on the plane. And there was so much room. So I just put everything on.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I also wait till the end of like I try to wait till the end on every flight so that I can have like my pick of maybe a nice seat. Because you never know. So
yeah,
play it by ear.
One travel hack that I heard, and I've never actually done this, so take this with a grain of salt, but if you have like an Apple Watch or any like smart watch or whatever, apparently when you get your boarding pass and then it comes up to like where they scan it, it doesn't say what zone it is. So you could be like zone 6 and they call zone 1 and you could still walk up and they don't see that you're zone 6. But once they scan it, you're in the system, so they can't like unscan you. So I heard that once.
You like being on the plane early? You want to go on as soon as they call your zone?
No, but like there have been times where I've been on a flight and I look and I'm like, I didn't even know a zone 8 existed. So like at the end of I also hate when people are just like, standing and they're waiting, because I'm like, we're all getting on the same plane. We're like, it's not going to be faster or slower. Like it's going to take the same amount of time. But you were mentioning your own hacks, so I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I got many little funny quirks when it comes to traveling, for sure.
What's been one of the most valuable ones that you use like anytime Comeback Kid is going around?
The most, I think. Well, you talk about goals, right? Like when we were talking about like what the band needs. So one goal that I accomplished actually is I bought an Amex Platinum card for 1 year, but I got like a bunch of mad like welcome points, so it made sense to buy it.
Right.
But I would get the lounge access, and that is something I don't have anymore because of the pandemic. But that is something. Wow, that was the biggest accomplishment of my life, I think, getting that lounge. And then every time. Most times because I like to be kind of late to get on the flight, there'd be many times when I'd like be running with like my 3 bags to the gate, and it's just kind of who I am. So that's the kind of guy.
Andrew, this has been a really fun podcast. I have one more episode. One more question to ask you before we sign off here. It's tradition to end every episode with a favorite Mosh story from our guest. So that could be anything that's first to your mind. I know like there is thousands of shows that you're probably thinking of. It could be a story that relates to you, something that happened at a Comeback Kid show, something that was just at a show that you were attending. Whatever's the first thing to your mind is how we start to wrap up.
Okay. Damn. I just remember there's a few really funny ones. I remember being at a festival in Illinois when I was like 16 or 17 years old, and I had like the Krishna beads, but I made them myself. That was like the style back then. And it was like, you get the vegan style back, the vegan straight edge style. So you get the fish string, or what is it called? The fish
net,
fish wire, fishing line. You get the fishing line.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like the fishing line, and then we put beads on it, and then you wrap it around, and it's like the Earth Crisis vibe. So I just remember being there, like, doing those, and then just like exploding. No, and it just all of it exploded everywhere. But I remember like those days I was seeing like the crazy, like going to the States and seeing people like dance and like, wow, this is crazy. Like guy in the middle, there's like maybe a less good, like another like mosher to his side that's smaller, and he just takes his face. Like, wow, what is this? Meeting like Joe Hardcore for the first time out in like his old band Punishment, Figure Four would play with, and just like, wow, like that's crazy. And to end it off, really, I just did this crazy stage dive, and it's on our video that we just put out. But I did a stage dive in California when we just played For the Children, and it was at the end of a song, and I just like flipped around. And usually you'd get landed, but no one landed, but I landed directly on my feet. And just after that, I was like, holy fuck. If I would have, like, I flew and landed on my feet, but like, I can't like dive into pools or anything. I don't have that like bravery or like even. So to do that and then land on my feet, I was like, wow, that could have gotten bad. So
yeah, it could have gone south very, very quickly.
I still get in the zone sometimes.
Yeah,
I still get in the pit.
Yeah, you're killing it. But yeah, those are great stories there. I love just the necklace exploding. That is the visual of that. Now it's just like everyone's got his like multiple chains, so it's like extra. Oh, this is What were you gonna say?
Those beads never stayed on very well. So.
No, sir. Well, Andrew, I honestly, I don't say this just to butter you up because you're on the podcast. Like, it's an absolute treat to have you on the show, and you've been a guest that I've wanted to have on for like a long, long time. And the fact that you're listening to my band and being able to like come on this podcast and all these things, like that means a lot to me as someone that like looks at Comeback Kid as like a huge pivotal band for me growing up in Winnipeg. So I appreciate you. All the new record links and all of your links will be in the description and the show notes and all that good shit. But if there's anyone you want to shout out, anyone you want to, plug, or anything that you want to send the people off with before we end the episode, the floor is yours.
Yeah. No, man, I'm just like, thank you as well. I love, what you guys are doing as well. And I'm excited to see more. That's going to be fun. It'll be fun to maybe see some Western Canadian boys, maybe overseas one day or something like that. That'd be cool.
That's the hope.
So yeah,
that's the hope.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's very happy to be here. And, thanks for having me.
Yep. Shout out to Comeback Kid. Shout out to, Comeback Kid beers, and shout out to the famous.
The famous. Yes. So, yes. And, we got to make, we still got to make this guitar pedal, the Heavy Step. That's my next accomplishment. We got to make a guitar pedal called the Heavy Step.
Oh,
that's on the list of accomplishments. So.
Yeah, let's make it happen. I don't know who we got to hit up, but let's make that happen.